Karki will ultimately take oath. India time, 8:45, after a short break.
तो अपने सोने को काम पे लगाइए, आज ही कॉल कीजिए 1-800-313-1212 पर।
ब्यूटीफुल
18th सेंचुरी और अभी तक चल रही है।
ज्यादा नहीं चलेगी।
कुछ कहा?
प्रोमिनेंस नहीं,
प्रोमिनेंस।
वाओ ओरिजिनल
या स्पेन से लाए थे।
वहीं छोड़ा थे। प्रोमिनेंस नहीं है ना?
प्रोमिनेंस?
मैं कहना चाह रहा था कि प्रोमिनेंस नहीं है।
प्रोमिनेंस मतलब
प्रोमिनेंस विंडोज, इसमें है हाईएस्ट वेदर रेजिस्टेंस और घर को रखे सेफ फ्रॉम टर्माइट, सीपेज, डस्ट एंड नॉइज। प्रोमिनेंस फॉर द वर्ल्ड यू डिजर्व।
Great news this week on News Caustic. We've got
Thank you for having me.
and also Ultra BMC has condemned the building, saying it's too old and too dangerous. And
Myself Ardhamard Singh Sharma.
you know what? Just watch it, yeah. Just watch it. I can't remember. How can I remember? I do the damn thing. How do I remember? Take a look. News Caustic.
सर, वाटर प्रूफिंग के लिए बेस्ट है।
वेंकी जी, एक छोटा सा गिफ्ट बिरला ओपस अश्योरेंस देने के लिए।
ऐसा क्या है इसमें?
1 साल में वाटर प्रूफिंग को कुछ भी हुआ तो वापस करके देंगे।
वापस करके देंगे?
वो भी फ्री। पेंटिंग में पहली बार बिरला ओपस अश्योरेंस। रजिस्टर करो birlaopus.com पर।
ट्रस्टेड लॉयर शर्मा जी ने अपने दीवारों पर जेके मैक्स पेंट्स क्या लगवाया? अजीब अजीब बहाने लेकर आने लगे पड़ोसी उनका घर देखने।
हाय शर्मा जी, एक रील बना लूं उस ब्यूटीफुल सी वॉल के पास।
हमारा टूम ही नहीं मिल रहा, यहाँ आया होगा।
मुझे गर्मा गर्म पकौड़े।
जेके मैक्स पेंट्स, खुशियों के रंग।
Now we are shifting our focus now to Nepal, that has seen one of the worst violent protests in recent times. The Gen Z call it revolution. But the breaking news is, finally, former Chief Justice Sushila Karki will be the interim Prime Minister of Nepal, and the swearing in is likely in just an hour from now. 8:45 India time. The parliament is all set to be dissolved by the president. The president of Nepal informed major political party stakeholders that he couldn't withstand mounting public pressure anymore, particularly after threats to surround Sheetal Niwas, and decided to dissolve both houses of the parliament while deciding on Sushila Karki's appointment as interim prime minister. While an almost final consensus Karki was reached earlier, the sticking point was whether the parliament should be dissolved first or not. President Paudel, after consulting political parties, is reportedly reluctant to pursue the path of resolution, whereas Chief of Army Staff Ashok Raj Sidgal and Karki maintain that an interim government should only proceed after this step. Sushila Karki has reportedly committed to leading the interim government for 6 months and holding elections afterward. While the president agrees with holding elections, he disagrees with proceeding through parliamentary dissolution. And there is another issue. What happens to the other Gen Z demand? This is one breaking news, but let me just read the other. Leaders from Nepali Congress, CPN, UML, Maoist Center and the Unified Socialists have been holding discussions to manage the transition. There is a pressure within these parties And there is a pressure that KP Sharma Oli, Sher Bahadur Deuba, Pushpa Kamal Dahal, Prachand, Madhav Kumar Nepal, Jalanath Khanal and Dr. Baburam Bhattarai should step aside to pave way for the new leadership. Preparations are reportedly underway to have all six issue a joint statement announcing their retirement from active politics. I will not go into details now. I will introduce my guests. I am joined by an authority on Nepal, S.D. Muni, author, Professor Emeritus, School of International Studies. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me. I am also joined by Dr. Pramod Jaiswal, Research Director, Nepal Institute for International Cooperation and Engagement. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me directly from Kathmandu. And I am also joined by Sachin Timulsina, a very erudite youth leader from Nepali Congress Party who had been part of my show earlier. Thank you all of you. But let me straight away start with this breaking news. Dr. Pramod Jaiswal, first to you. You are in Kathmandu. How did this development take place? 8:45 and Nepal will have a new caretaker.
Yes, I mean, it's in a dramatic situation. Things have finally ended there. Like after the protest, like the student had been demanding that they want an interim government under Sushila Karki, and second was that they wanted the house to be dissolved before they announced a new government, and finally we have ended up there. So I think it's a great victory for Gen Z, but it also brings lots of challenges for the new leadership. On the one hand, the government might be very powerful, where they will not have old heads who can at any time interfere, bring the different tools to come back to power or intervene. That will disappear. But at the same time, they might also create a power vacuum if they're not able to deliver. So I think it's a victory for Gen Z because they got what they wanted finally.
Okay. Okay. Let me take opening comments from the young person here. Sachin, to you, how did this come about? Because at least there is some sort of surety that something is going to happen at 8:45 India time.
Well, now it looks like a dream really in the 5 days and how volatile Nepal's politics has been. So I thought we were much better than that. But anyways, I mean, what has happened is there was massive dissatisfaction. Our leaders failed to understand that, especially being from a political party that is in the political establishment. I think we have to take our fair share of blame. And as our General Secretary Gagan Thapa has already apologized to everybody for his role or the party's role in whatever has happened in the past 20 years, despite our all efforts to make sure that reforms came. It didn't come. There was anger. It folded out in a violent manner. It was complete mismanagement from the former Home Minister and the government. And the anger of Gen Z that came out, it burned half the city. We actually do not know how to build this infrastructure. I hope the new government is able to do it because the amount of money that's needed to build all these structures, it's incredible. But anyways, first thing first, I think what was needed in Nepal was a riddance of this political vacuum. We finally had it. Sushila Karki, she's known for her acumen. She is known for being strong and being honest. I personally, I have some reservations with this move, and I actually do not know where the constitution is heading towards. But I mean, the Gen Z's protest deserved their demands to be fulfilled. It has been fulfilled. I hope the election is done in proper time.
Okay, Professor Muni. The broader picture that is emerging from Nepal, that's my first question to you with this decision, sir. And second, what will happen to the senior leaders, sir? The people who kept on rotating in last 15 years, sir?
Well, I think the first thing is, for the past few days, the Nepali politics was polarized along 3 axes. One is, of course, the royalist. Second, you can call the Gen Z, or first is Gen Z, which wanted a change, but change within the democratic system, democratic structure, republican structure. And the third is the old guard, which wanted to have some minor changes within the existing constitution and parliament. I think out of the 3, 2 did not want monarchy to come back, royalists to take the lead. Therefore, the real negotiations and compromises have been between the old guard and the Gen Z. And I think what appears now is that both have accommodated each other. there is a new leadership now. The old leadership at the moment is not on the front. Secondly, as I get from your report, the parliament is to be dissolved before the prime minister takes oath, and this is where Gen Z's demand has been accommodated. And the third, which you are saying, if that comes about, of all the 6 former prime ministers to promise that they will not remain in politics, is again meeting the Gen Z's demand that the old leadership should not be there. But they have accepted because they had their own 2 other, Mr. Gising and the Dharan mayor. They wanted other. Barendra Shah had himself declined, so he was not in the picture. So there is a mutual accommodation, and much of the stability in future and functioning of the interim government will depend upon what kind of cooperation it gets from the old bureaucracy and the army, as also the old parties, that they don't protest, they don't come out on the street to disturb the process of holding free and fair elections.
Dr. Jaiswal, do you think that the old leaders will finally give in? Generally, if you look at the South Asian politics, the youth have supported older leadership. It's not as if, youth has always supported the young leadership. 77, Jayaprakash Nayan, Mahatma Gandhi. If you look at pan-South Asian politics, the youth have, it's not like Anglo-Saxon politics. But do you think that this sort of a possibility is there whereby, in a way, quote unquote, it's undemocratic in a democratic system where you tell, you guys can't be in politics, but this sort of a retirement takes place?
It's a very challenging and difficult questions, because at the moment we have Gen Z who has come and they are saying that they do not want to be in the active politics. They are saying that we want to change the government, they want experts and people to rule. So they just want young people to come to power. It's not that they themselves want to come to power. So that is one. Second is that I'm doubtful that the senior leadership will be again coming back to politics. The reason is that the way they were treated, it was quite humiliating. The house is burned down, and if they're wise, I think it's, and this kind of pressure were there in Nepal since long, that the second rank leader were asking them to provide opportunity to serve the nation, and they were like playing a musical chair. And the frustration was not only among the youth but also in the party and among the people at different age groups. So I think they have realized that the thing is almost out of control. So I think they will exit and give opportunity to the second rank leaders. Now the new conflict that might emerge would be the traditional parties, second rank leader, and the new forces which are represented by Rashtriya Swatantra Party, maybe Balance, and different other groups that would emerge. Because when the youth are getting opportunities, other youth might join, like these Gen Zs might also come as a political force in future. They might consolidate themselves into one group. So different young groups might come into picture that will at least make a young parliament active in politics around the country. But at the same time, the traditional parties will also bring youth leaders, but they will have to compete among those themselves.
Okay, so Sachin, you're part of the Nepali Congress. Do you think it's possible for suddenly for the second line or second rung to take up the entire mantle of running a political system when the seniors are asked to move out? Is it really possible in the political structure? Because it's not a bureaucratic appointment that a secretary comes in and another, the secretary goes away. These are political parties built on the network of kinship, loyalties, patronage, activism. It's different.
Well, I can much better talk about my party. The other parties, UML does have an Indian election, but it was very much, dominated by KP Oli's hegemony. In fact, he doesn't let anybody who would contest him to be inside his political party. That has been his history. Maoists do not have internal democracy at all. Prasanda has been the supremo for such a long time. In case of Nepali Congress, one thing I'd like to tell everybody is Shervada Dewa was a legitimate president of my political party, Nepali Congress. Now, we've had internal democracy for a long, long time. Nepali Congress does have, I think, one of the best internal democracies if you see among the political parties in the whole of South Asia. And that's something I believe in. But I don't think the morale of our president right now is so high. And who is the general secretary? Now, it's an unsaid point that General Secretary Gagan Thapa is now the unofficial lead of the party, because he has been attending all the meetings. He's been talking to the Congress workers from center to our root level, and he has been also elected through our interim election a couple of years ago. So he is, I think, now ready in all senses to lead the party, and the old guards would like to contest, but among such pressure and such a unsure environment about the existence of the whole party itself, I think we are in safe hands of Gagan Thapa. If I talk about my party, among the other two big parties, I don't see a second or third generation taking over at all. They also do not have anybody who can challenge. I mean, if I'll give you an example, Gagan Thapa challenged Shervadu Deva when he after the election, when he fought for the leader of the ruling, leader of the parliament. So he lost to Deva, but he challenged. But Oli and Prachanda were unchallenged. They were not challenged at all. So I think my party still has a space to go forward. Not sure about the other parties.
Okay, Professor Muni, can this churn actually take place? This will be unprecedented, that in a sort of a violent revolution by Gen Z, the entire political superstructure gets retired. It has happened in Sri Lanka, where Mahinda Rajapaksa's party is like untouchable, but there is no there is no legislation that was taken out. There was no pressure that these 6 people would retire. The ire was against the family there. So, a large brunt was borne by the Rajapaksas. But do you think this sort of a thing is possible in Nepal? Across the party, top leaders retire, sir?
Well, partly responding to the young colleague who is here on our panel, Prachanda has also been challenged within his party. And Oli has also been challenged within his party. And now Vidya Bhandari, rightly or wrongly, is openly questioning. So it is not that within other parties this traditional leadership has not been challenged, number one. Number two, if you look at the Nepalese history of last 30-40 years, every time such a major change comes, the Nepali people and the Nepali political activists have accepted new leadership. When the Maoists were accommodated with the 7-party alliance, in the first election, the Maoists won. The problem is that the new leadership or new parties like Ravi Lamechhane's party or the new leadership is accepted. The problem is that the new leadership fails to deliver. And it is this failure which brings about the old guard back into the action. I mean, if, for instance, after 2008, if the Maoists would have behaved in a manner and responded to people's aspirations and all that, the erosion which took place of the Maoists would not have taken place. Similarly, you can talk about even in terms of Nepali Congress. Deva, after all, was a young leader against GP Koirala, and they accepted him. GP Koirala and all other leaders. After BP Koirala, of course, GP came, but there were other leaders. So to say that they will not accept new leaders is not realistic. They will accept new leaders. The challenge is for the new leaders to respond to the aspirations and pressures of the parties as well as of the people in general.
Absolutely, sir. But Dr. Pramod Jaiswal, unlike Bangladesh, where fringe forces took over the protest, how are the protests different in Kathmandu, for the benefit of our viewers? Because a lot of people say what's happening in South Asia, Nepal happened, Sri Lanka happened, Bangladesh happened. How is Nepal different, sir?
In one sense, it's not different. In another, it's different. In one sense, it's not different because when these young students are protesting for the genuine demand, which was against corruption, the criminal or anti-national groups, they entered into the crowd and did violence, and then they tried to hijack the whole movement. That is one which are different. Like in Bangladesh, the violence was done by state versus the protesters. Here, it was protesters were one side, and the violence was done by criminal group. That is that is a variation. Second is that, at the moment, though the youth group are fragmented, they were able to come with a consensus. It took some time, 1 or 2 days, but they were able to come with a consensus, and they were able to bargain and come to what they want. So that is the biggest achievement. Third is that Bangladesh, there was lots of mishandling of the situation on the state side, while Nepal, within 2 days, it came to, they realized that, and the Prime Minister was able to resign, and that's why there was less casualties, and within 2 days, things is wrapped up. So I think that is another variation. Adding to my guru, what Professor Mooney said, like Nepal has accepted all kind of leadership, every new leadership. Like we can see that Ravi Lamchane is a recent example, and in the past it was Maoist. So I think this new leadership will be accepted by the state, and at the same time they will also be challenged by the traditional parties. Again, the traditional parties, they will reform themselves. They will not challenge the new forces with the old faces. They will also bring new faces. That is the reform we will see in the traditional parties. The traditional parties are bound to make the reforms in the party in order to challenge the new parties that emerge.
Okay. I've really run short of time. Thank you all of you for joining me. It was a very interesting discussion. The fast-paced developments have taken place in Nepal, and today the new interim caretaker would be sworn in, and she will be the first woman premier of Nepal. So this is all I had tonight on Point. Thank you and good night. I'll see you on Monday at the same time.
Great news this week on News Caustic. We've got.
Thank you for having me.
And also, BMC has condemned the building, saying it's too old and too dangerous. And
Myself Ardha Singh Sharma.
you know what? Just watch it, guys. Just watch it. I can't remember. How can I remember? I do the damn thing. How do I remember? Take a look. News Caustic.
First on digital brands, so to speak, that had the biggest brand endorser possible. You had no less than Shah Rukh Khan, you know, was talking about Big Basket, and then from that was at a time when still celebrity endorsement was the name of the game. But you've seen that change to now influencer marketing, the rise of influencer marketing, and now the rise of hyper-local influencers, not just the macro influencers, the hyper-local influencers. How do you straddle the spectrum?
You'll be surprised, even today, and this is after, I think the last ad we must have done with Shah Rukh about 3 to 4 years back, people still say Shah Rukh Khan when I say Big Basket. So imagine building that kind of association. A marketer would play in blood-blooding for this. It is so hard to do it. So I think sometimes we tend to think that celebrities don't bring too much to a brand. It is actually the way you use a celebrity, what kind of campaign you create, the consistency we use them, the messaging that really builds credibility with using the campaign and with the celebrity. If you do all of that, then I think a celebrity has a very powerful place.
What is to the nines? In literal terms, it's perfection. But to us, it's not just a phrase, it's an attitude. One that starts at your desk and sends a statement to the world. To the nines is about taking charge. It's a way of life where every scene, every fold, is crafted with excellence. It's timeless elegance and uncompromising quality made for the corner office. It's the ideas that inspire redefining order and elevating the tabletop. To To the nines, for the leaders of today and the visionaries of tomorrow.
Light, camera, and action. Kick back, relax, grab your favorite snack because News9 is here with your weekend dose of entertainment. It's time to take a deeper dive into the buzzworthy happenings of the entertainment world. From celebrity gossips to exclusive conversations, from nostalgic moments to News9's pick of the week. Don't worry, we've got you covered here. And I hope you've grabbed your popcorn by now because News9's page 3 is here to serve you everything that we call entertainment. So do stay tuned every Saturday and Sunday, 2:30 p.m.
A small window of hope has opened for Nimisha Priya. You know, human beings live by hope. Is Vijay Dravidian Party.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News9, English news as it should be.
Hello and a very warm welcome. Thanks for tuning in to your favorite news destination. You're watching In Your Interest. Joining me here in the studio is my colleague and News9's Deputy Managing Editor, Kartik Sharma. And right here is our focus for 8 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this. The political suspense in Nepal seems to be nearing its climax. In a big development right now, former Chief Justice Sushila Karki, Gen Z's favorite and choice of pick, will be the interim Prime Minister of Nepal, the first woman PM of Nepal. And what we're also picking up from credible sources at this point in time is that the swearing-in ceremony is likely to take place in just about an hour from now at about 8:45 p.m. Indian Standard Time. The Parliament is set to be dissolved by the President. And the latest details, of course, coming to us via Nepali media houses and Nepali blogs, is telling us that the President of Nepal, Ramchandra Paudel, informed the major political parties and the major political stakeholders of Nepal that he could not withstand the mounting public pressure anymore, particularly after the threats and the recent threats to surround the Sheetal Nivas, and decided hence to dissolve both the House of the Parliament and approve and go ahead with the appointment of Sushila Karki. Whilst deciding on Sushila Karki's appointment as the interim Prime Minister, what's more, this is a historical development, the first woman Prime Minister of Nepal. Whilst an almost final consensus on Karki had been reached earlier itself, the sticking point was whether the Parliament should be dissolved first or not. President Paudel was unlikely to dissolve the Parliament, but it seems like after consulting the political parties, he is reportedly now okay with it. Earlier, he was reluctant to pursue the path of the dissolution, but the Army Chief of Army Staff, Ashok Raj Sidgel, and Karki maintained that an interim government should proceed only after this step. Earlier, Kulman Ghising, his name, the engineer man who pushed Nepal to a power surplus, an enterprising personality when it comes to Nepal's politics, he seemed to be the front runner. But all of these contenders coming to the fore one by one, it seems like we're nearing that climax, that political suspense is coming to an end. But certain questions that have come out: will Karki actually be the interim Prime Minister? Will that swearing-in ceremony go on? We're picking up sources telling us that is most likely to take place with the dissolution of the Parliament. What happens to the political atmosphere of Nepal? And of course, at that point in time, will the transfer of power, which we've seen from the ceremonial monarchs to the Republic, will that be smoother this time or not? Joining me here in the studio is my colleague and Deputy Managing Editor, Kartik Sharma. Kartik, those three things, let's talk about that in the run-up to the swearing-in ceremony. Finally, we're nearing that climax. But what does this tell us about the factionalism within Gen Z? And with 40 years of experience behind Karki when it comes to her judicial work, when it comes to working for the citizens, will this transfer of power, will this be successful and smooth?
I think there was tremendous pressure on the older guards. There was tremendous pressure on the remaining people manning the institution. See, what did Gen Z do? They burned the parliament, they attacked the leaders, they publicly beat them up. Now, unlike Sri Lanka, where Rajapaksa was protected by the security, here the security failed. Rajapaksa was whisked away by Navy to a neighboring state. In Bangladesh, when Khaleda Zia was in hospital, Sheikh Hasina was in power, she had to flee. Sheikh Hasina had to flee. She's in India, and she is completely ripped off from the Bangladeshi politics because they have ensured that the Awami League does not get to contest elections. In Nepal, I think there was a great writing on the wall that something more violent can happen. So I think the entire leadership structure, the stalwarts, they gave in to the pressure. What was the issue? The Gen Zs were saying that these senior leaders will not be allowed, so they disappeared from the scene. The Gen Zs were saying that you dissolve the parliament first. We don't want to see them in the the structure of power setup. We don't want them there. So the parliament is going to be dissolved. So you have an interim government with a clean slate. Now a lot of people would say that this is undemocratic, but that's a revolution. The revolution in itself is undemocratic. You have a revolution for the principle of democracy, but it can become undemocratic because you are saying that these people are now going to contest elections. So that's what revolution does. It does away with the existing regime. What does politics or democratic setup do? It recycles it. You contest the election, you come and go. So the cost of losing an election is not much because you don't completely get adrift from power. You don't lose everything. Here all these leaders have lost everything, because they will not be part of any power structure in Nepal. So Gen Z had delivered Nepal a completely new political superstructure. You will have new leaders running older political parties. New political parties are not going to be formed. The older leaders manning these political parties will have to give in. They will have to move out. That's number one thing that has happened. The second thing is, why Sushila Karki, the constitution won't provide for it. All other leaders somehow were not able to unite different factions. Sushila Karki, she was able to become a choice for all the factions. So it's not as if, this is a decision taken by army and Gen Z. When other political leaders were consulted, they say, well, let it be then Sushila. So it's not as if it's a decision born out of Gen Z pressure and army's position.
How important will this political consensus be? Because she's already detailed this 6-month timeline now. That and also another breaking development for all the viewers that are with us right now. According to the President's office, a small cabinet will be announced later today, right after the oath-taking ceremony of Karki. The first cabinet meeting will recommend the House dissolution as demanded by the agitating groups, including the Gen Z movement. And whilst I'm talking about
because that's procedural. That's absolute procedural. You see, when you swear in the new Prime Minister, that Prime Minister will dissolve the House. President will not be dissolve the House suo motu, because they need to keep Kabir some democratic principles in mind. I mean, so the President will appoint a new Prime Minister, the Prime Minister appoints a new cabinet, the Prime Minister then does a cabinet meeting, and in that cabinet meeting the Prime Minister says that the Parliament stands dissolved till further orders because the new elections will take place. In this process, the word you may use, the purge will take place of the older political elites. So this is the purge of the older political elites that is taking place in Nepal. And these students have got it. And why this pressure is working? Because they were taken completely unprepared. They were off guard when the violence took place. And they understand that something like Bangladesh can happen. So no one wants that. People want democracy to come back to Nepal. Look at what happened in Pakistan, what has happened in Bangladesh. Democracy has not taken firm roots in these two countries.
Will that happen in Nepal?
But it happened in Nepal.
We have seen a pattern play around
both
us
Sri Lanka
in India.
and Nepal had undergone insurgencies. But they were able to seed democracy. Bangladesh and Pakistan, there is no democracy. Bangladesh, there is no democracy.
Fair enough.
There is only democracy in India, Bhutan and Nepal and maybe Malay.
So the only silver lining here happens to be that in our own neighborhood, at least given the example of Sri Lanka, it seems like Nepal in the next 6 months, a democratic election is more likely, and we still don't know or have a date whether what's happening in Bangladesh. So on that comparative level, maybe Nepal is taking steps in the right direction.
You see, the second thing is, after dissolving the parliament, what are they going to do with the constitution? Because this constitution is a hodgepodge. It took 9 years to make. I really don't know what are they going to do with the constitution. A lot of people feel that the monarchy should come back, but then monarchy in what form? Monarchy can come back in the form of UK's monarchy. No one wants a monarchy in the form of Brunei or Thailand. No one wants an absolute monarchy. People want a Hindu Raj, or they want a sort of a Republican Hindu Raj in the sense that it's there in the name. It's like the Scandinavian nations where you are declared, like a lot of countries say we are Catholics, like Poland. It's declared, it's cultural, it's not religious, it's not like Saudi Arabia. So, those are all the issues which Sushila Karki will now have to sort out, because it's not about elections, it's about the cultural identity of Nepal, it's about the new political leadership, it's about the purge of the past leadership, and finally, as Clinton said, honey, it's about economy.
Certainly. And I certainly feel that the task is cut out for Sushila Karki. Vouch on News9 to bring you rolling coverage of the developments that are taking place in Kathmandu or the Sheetal Nivas, where, of course, moments from now, the swearing-in ceremony will take place. The first woman Prime Minister of Nepal, Sushila Karki, is going to be sworn in as the interim caretaker after the entire fiasco that we've been seeing play out onto the streets of Kathmandu. Many thanks, Kartikeya, for joining us here, putting this breaking development into perspective. 8:45, 8:30 onwards, you can join us here on News9. We're going to now head first into what could be the mother of all political controversy. This is our story coming to you from Bihar. This is In Your Interest tonight. All right then, folks, tonight we're diving headfirst into what could be the mother of all political controversies, a storm brewed by an AI-generated video from the Bihar Congress. It shows Prime Minister Narendra Modi's late mother, Hiraben Modi, scolding him in a dream sequence. The 36-second clip, marked AI-generated, has been widely shared online. The Congress video captioned, "Ma appears